Okay, hi PM. So we are here for stage two. I hope stage one was. I hope you enjoyed stage one, and stage two is going to get more critical and it's going to activate your product sense more clearly. So let's just go over the overview first. So basically, you're going to analyze the data that you've gotten from the stage one, and use the user insights to design the flow for how learners or mentees in this context get to confidently and easily find mentors that match their goals, right? So in I mean we are going I'm giving you more data in this case, and we are going to be looking at it subsequently, but you're going to be merging the data Metafy gives you and the data you already have. So sometimes in a typical PM experience, sometimes you don't always have enough data, right? So that was why I gave you that particular task, even though Mentify already has some data. So you still need to find more data depending on the context. Okay, so the data, let's look at. Okay, before we get to that, in this stage, you think like a PM in an edtech space or in an edtech company. Your job is to use data to guide decisions, design a mentor discovery flow, and communicate direction clearly. Okay, so what is the data? This is the data that Mentify is giving you. So 70% of mentees book only when they have a detailed, this is supposed to be information, so don't mind the typo. Detailed information about the mentor, right? So there is something that I expect for you to when I want to see more details of a particular mentor, what is the flow going to look like. So this is how data is used to actually make better and informed decisions. So the way you're going to design, if this was not given, would be different from how it would if it were, if now that it is given. So there are contents I like to see that you add to your flow. So mentees who filter by learning goal are three times more likely to book. So it means that I don't want to mention what you need to put there, but yeah, basically you already have this information that mentees who filter by learning goal are three times more likely to book. So there are some things I expect to see with this data, right? So the data from your research, so you need to merge the both and come up with the flow. So how do you analyze the data? So you have this data and you have already done the persona from it, but let's see how can you analyze the data. Normally you would need to ask more than 2 to 3 to 5 people, but because yeah, in the context of this particular task I limited it to that, and also research also works with time, so we only have 24 hours, but then you can always um relate it. So if it takes you like for this particular example, if you're able to gather at least four, two let's say 3 to 4 insights from of 3 to 4 users to give you insight, it means that if you had more than 24 hours you should be able to gather like up to 10 or more, right? So it's still the same thing, but just the addition of the extra time. Okay, so how do you analyze the data? Look for patterns. You need to look out for patterns in the data. There are users who would, answer almost the same thing. There are patterns that you would see in the same context. So always take note of the pattern, right? Then focus on learner behavior. Remember, this is an edtech, so whatever you're doing, you need to have that in mind. I need to understand that a mentee is a typical learner, right? So there are behaviors that learners, naturally have. They naturally need guidance, for instance, right? Because they are not experts. So in your flow, you need to embody those learner behaviors. Another example is that learners are typically um you know they don't know everything, right? So basically they are looking at how to fill the knowledge gap. So this basically drives their behavior. Okay, now segment users. You need to also segment your users. Then observation plus meaning. What meaning can you make out of the data that you have? Now tie this back to learning and edtech, right? Now this is one mistake that a lot of PMs make, especially in their early careers, when they are trying to solve problems. For example, you want to do a user flow, You don't just do general user flows. A user flow, I should be able to look at a user flow for a fintech and a user flow for an edtech and easily spot the difference that this is not in the same industry. And even when it is in the same industry, for example, fintech, there is payment, for example. There are other things aside typical payment. There's like savings, right? Savings is also fintech, even though it is not like collecting payment. So I should be able to look at a user flow for payment and a user flow for um what is it called now, the savings, and typically understand that these are different users. So you always need to align back to the context. So 2 to 3 insights in this case are enough. So relate the insights to what this data says about how learners or mentees think, feel, and decide. So what is the method discovery flow going to look like? So your user flow should always have an entry point, learning goal selection. Remember the main problem that we're facing on Mentorify. So mentor recommendations and ease of finding desired mentor, right? The keyword is profile evaluation, booking or connection. So there are other things that you should have that I might not have listed here. So ensure that when you're drawing out your flow, you consider everything. This is a user flow, not wireframe. Focus on the ease of steps, decisions, and movement. This is what makes it a user flow. So this image is gotten from Figma, and this is a typical diagram that represents a user flow, right? So know what each of these represents, right? Now this image is not complete. There should be an endpoint, but I want you to make the research because I intentionally cut it out. So you go and make the research. I also dropped a link on your research section on Risely. So find it, and yeah, for example, there is an end point, right? So a user flow should always have like a start and end, user flow. So at the end of it, there should be like, okay, I've already told you, yeah, what it is, but yeah, an end flow should come at the end, right? So this is the start, and it's represented, both the start and the end is represented by the same what is it called now, shape, right? And then we have the user action. This is what the user does. For example, clicks on something, select something, and all of that, right? Then user decision, right? So user decision is basically when a user is given multiple, like more than one choice. So for example, when a user is filling a form, and are you are you, what gender are you, so, or okay, I want to log in, for instance, and I'm able to select if I have an account already, or if I don't have an account already. So the decision that they take will determine on what next the user gets to see, right? So this particular image, it looks cut off, but because the image has already added the start and the end user flow, so you already know that this is what comes at the end, right? So user choice options, so this is when a user has to make decisions, right? And then user, depending on the decision that they take, right, they will now, sometimes decision is giving decision is being followed by the user decision or the system decision, right? So for example, if a user selects login, right, it means that the system is going to bring up a form to fill, a login form. That is a system decision, right? Sometimes if a user selects an option, the user will be faced with more user decisions. So that's the difference. So what a good user flow feels like, flow principles. Remember that you're solving for edtech. Always put that in context. And they should feel guided. Anybody who is looking at the flow should feel guided, not overwhelming. So your user flow should not be all over the place, and it should be intent driven, confidence building, and clear end states, right? If your flow feels like a marketplace dump, in this case we are looking at mentors marketplace. So it shouldn't feel like a marketplace dump where you just dump um what is it called now, mentors, right? So rethink it. Learners need structure. Even if it is I don't want to use the word marketplace, but let's say even if it's a marketplace, there should be some structure, that the learners or mentees get to feel when they are trying to navigate their mentors. So what are the best practices? Research and persona mapping. We have already done this, so you've got that already. And yeah, so map entry and exit point, end point or exit point, they are the same thing. So define where user starts and finish to identify potential drop off points. Now every system has entry and exit point, and this is another mistake that PMs make when they are drawing up their user flows. Even not just PMs, like even some MVPs that people build, they have this, mistake where they make this mistake where they build an application and the users keep navigating the app without an exit point, right? You're not going to be easily achieving your goal with that kind of design. Now on Risely, for instance, you already know that if you want to build your portfolio, the first thing you need to do is to take up a challenge, submit your tasks, and then once your tasks are all submitted and graded, you generate your portfolio. Is as straightforward as that. You know your exit point, you know your entry point. Another example is for you to do your tasks. You know that okay, you're going to open a challenge. So a user flow can have a nexted flow inside. So basically that what it means. So always make sure that you map your entry and exit point. Very important. Design for edge cases. Plan for unexpected actions or errors. So let's say a user, right, a mentee wants to book um a mentor, right, that is not available. What happens? So that is an edge case. That's always consider those edge cases. This is an example. There are a lot of other examples that are even more complex than this example that I just gave. So I want you to utilize your PM thoughts with the insights that you have generated, and also the problems that those users have shared with you. Think of other edge cases as well, not just the ideal path, right? Don't just give me the ideal path. I need something. What if this happens? What if this happens? So iterate and test. So basically you'll be needing to get to the users again, let them know that this is what you have, and refine it with their input as well. So align with business goals. We didn't really focus so much on business goals, but this is what business goals could look like. In this case, it could be that Mentorify wants to increase their booking rate of mentors. It might be affecting, because mentees are finding it difficult to get their mentors that align with their goals. It could be that it's even affecting the booking rate and is making the company lose money, right? So that's a typical example of business goals, I mean. So ensure that you're always mapping you're almost aligning your business goal. You're always doing your user flow to for the company to achieve their business goals. Now remember that this is one of the core things that a PM should do, to make sure that to make sure that business goals, the features that are being designed and built, are achieving business goals. So if that is not happening, that means you're not doing a good job as a PM, right? So always ensure the user's journey supports the product strategic objectives. Basically, if your flow feels like a marketplace dump, I think this was from the other slide, but I repeated it. So I already gave you a link on what the user flow is, in case you don't know that. I expect you to know that anyway, but just in case you need a refresher, you can use the guide on the resources. What a user flow is, how to basically like a full guide on how to do that, right? So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me on the chat. This is going to be really, really interesting. Now having this in your portfolio is going to expand your basically what you can do as a PM. And this is just a beginner challenge. We are going to have more amazing challenges to deal with, in 2026. Just stay with me, right? And then also, this is the second stage. There should be a third stage which should be coming tomorrow. So have a good one. If you need my help, if you need my attention, send me a message on the chat. Success.